Touchdown.
We're going to call to order. Roll call, please.
Nancy Kupka,
Present.
Sherelle Fuller,
Present.
Dan Nicholas,
I'm here.
Terry Pavasich,
Here.
Rick Pavanato,
Here.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have all of our students here for our perspectives? All right. High point of our evening.
Kat, would you like to?
No pressure, though.
Started?
Sure. I'm Kat Pinky.
Could you step up to the mic, Kat?
There's a mic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really loud.
Okay, it's really loud.
So, yep, there you go.
Okay. I'm Kat Pankey. I am the newest counselor over at Downers Grove North. So thank you so much for having us. It's my second year here. And these are two of my amazing student leaders from our Latino Student Union. It's our second year running. So I think we officially get to be a club this year, hopefully, if you guys all say we can after this meeting. But I had a student come to me who is not here tonight. He works a lot. He's a graduating senior, very busy guy, who said, I want to get this going. How do I do it? And I said, well, I'm brand new here. This was last year in September. I'd been all in my office for like 3 weeks. And I said, but I love the idea. We need it here. I can tell you that. And he said, I heard you used to do something like that at your old school. I said, yeah, absolutely. I got you. So we kind of navigated that. And then now it's all student led. So I'm going to let them tell you about it because that's just how it got started. But I know you want to hear from them. So I have two of our seniors who stepped up to lead this year. I have Yasleen Perez and Desi Garcia. So I'll let them talk. Come up, girls. Tell them about the club, like what we do and where we're going.
Okay. Wait. Do I have to
Why
speak
we
into
have
Okay, so pretty much I joined the group because I had heard from Rafael and from other friends that there was a Latino Student Union like club or group forming in the school. And I was like, oh, because I was new last year as a junior. I came from the city, and the city where I was from, the part of the city that I was from was predominantly Black and Hispanic. So that's all I grew up around. And then I moved to a suburb and changed completely for me. So I joined the group with my sister, and we started going, and we really liked it because we felt really, comforted by like faces and a group that we are familiar with and can connect with. So by that, we started getting more involved. And like being a senior now, I felt that it would be a good idea for me to get involved as a leader. And we just pretty much talk about like issues that need to be talked about within our community that aren't as talked about through media, pretty much. Yeah.
It's quite eloquent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm Desiree, and like she said, we go over issues, and then we also like to embrace our culture, so we will occasionally like do certain activities. Like last year, we went on a field trip. This year, we're bringing up issues, like our next lesson that we've been planning is around mental health, and overall, it's one of the things I look forward to. And now it's every other week, but it used to be every week. It's like one of the things that I most look forward to. And like in school, I feel welcome in the group, and I'm sure all of the other students do. They're very open with us as leaders, as it is student-led, like Ms. Pankey said. And yeah, I'd really hope for this to continue, because I do see that we all feel comfortable in the environment and we enjoy having the club.
How many members do you have of the club?
25, I think. We had 25 at our last meeting. Oh, sorry. We had 25 at our last meeting. So we had about like 10 last year, and we had 25. The field trip that Desi mentioned was the United States Hispanic Leadership Institute series downtown. Had a college fair and speakers. We took about 40 from North, so we expanded outside of our club. And then we just did a volunteer event for Day of the Immigrant in Bolingbrook, which is a huge festival. And we had 10 volunteers on a Saturday, and the kids had to come like on the night before to get trained, and so they got out there and they worked a 5-hour shift helping with citizenship workshops. So they're doing stuff like giving back. We're doing fun stuff. Hopefully we're going to do some dancing. Like we have food. We have a holiday party, right? We did that with our families. So we're trying to bring the community together. So yeah, it's growing. We're getting new faces all the time. A lot of freshmen this year, which is good. They bring good energy.
Well, that's how you keep it going. Is
Yes.
you've got to get those freshmen in.
Yes, yes, yeah. Anything else that you guys would like to hear about from?
Well, I just want to commend you for getting it going.
Yeah.
And is there anything we can do to make life better for students?
That's on you guys. You guys are the
Something you've heard, or this is your chance.
I mean, you don't have to answer now. If you want to actually talk to the club,
Yeah.
talk to the group, and
And then
report-
email me.
Email Hank and
Absolutely.
report back
Thank
to us.
you.
We'd love to hear that.
Thank you, Dan.
I don't want to put him on the
Time to
spot.
think.
I do, no, it's fine.
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
I think specifically to the club, like we said, we went on one field trip last year, but I think it would be helpful for us to make more trips to actually get out in the community and see it firsthand because, well, obviously not all of the students that do participate in the club have that like firsthand experience of how our culture is and get to embrace it as much as I guess they'd like to. And so it'd be nice for us, I guess, to go out, see it wherever it's happening and just embrace everything and live it.
Where did you go for your field trip?
We went to, it was like a college fair, a leadership like college fair. And so we had like a guest speaker. We got to go through like all the colleges and we got to see like a little glimpse of like what's out there.
So what I was going to say, if you guys figure out there are some things you're interested in doing, I do have access to a Latino population, like businesses, if you're interested in certain careers. I'd love to, if you were to send that to Hank, if you had kind of a wish list of things
Definitely,
you're interested in, I'd see how I can help you.
All right, thank you.
Do you have something that you want to add? Same thing? Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's going to be pretty hard to follow, but now it's up to you. E-learning.
E-learning. All right, so a few notes on this. Rob will be back here at the next board meeting to formally present on this and have a resolution to adopt an e-learning program. As the board knows, last year we put in a flexible learning day to replace the snow day because there was changes in Illinois law that everything was kind of on the board and we were able to try and do whatever we wanted last year. Legislation went into place this summer that really outlined what a true e-learning day was. So an e-learning day is in place of an emergency day and it happens on the day that school is canceled. What we're working on now is the program and the planning around it, but what the state law requires is that there must be 5 hours of instruction or school work during that day, that access from home can be provided to all students participating, and we issue Chromebooks, and we also have Wi-Fi hotspots that students can check out, so we do that. We ensure that also teachers have access to hardware and software. They all have computers, they all have the Google tools. Monitor each student's participation, so we send out a Google form that they check in for the day. And then we make sure that the students are participating, right? That's what the teacher is doing and checking in on that. And we have to provide notice to our parents, which we'll be doing tomorrow, that we're thinking about doing this. We want to share with the board first. And then training for the staff, which we did a bunch of training last year leading up to the flexible learning day. We'll do some more on a late start to make sure everybody's ready for that day to head into it and give some people some time to work on that. And then make sure that the expectations are communicated 30 days in advance of any emergency day. So that's why we're going to do it here in October, because last year our first snow day was right after Thanksgiving. So we'll come back to you next month to go through that.
The forecast has blue in it for Saturday.
I had like 20 nights of waiting up to see if school was canceled last year, so I'm not looking forward to that. So anyways, we'll be bringing our feedback is, if you remember, was really strong around that flexible learning day. The majority of the feedback that we got was it would be great to do this in real time. So this is kind of lining up with that feedback. So more on it on the 21st with a resolution to allow us to move forward with those. Any general questions at this point, though?
I do have one. Remind me, when the students get their hotspot, that's for the entire semester, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
go ahead, Gina. She manages the
Does everybody have a
program.
hotspot?
No, only students who require one can check one out. Obviously, if they have internet at home, they don't need it, but they can keep it for the whole year.
Okay.
Okay, so my
the only
point is if they need it, they can, you know,
Yes.
they're not going to be hindered because they don't have it.
Right, we do collect them before summer school starts, but any student in summer school who needs one, we either extend or give a new one.
Okay,
That's
thank
very
you.
nice. And then they already have the Chromebooks, so.
Right, yeah.
Have we already thought ahead towards, what we're going to do if a student says, I couldn't get a Wi-Fi hotspot or something like that? I mean, have we
Yeah.
thought, are we anticipating all
Okay.
those sort of?
It's all of the, it's also like we saw with some of the storms last year, people could lose power, their house could not be in
Right.
shape to actually
Good
do
point.
schoolwork.
Yeah.
Any of those things, students would be excused from it.
Okay.
So they just have to let us know. Just like a parent excusing a kid from a day of school, they could excuse them from a day of e-learning.
So does that amount to an absence then?
Yes, but no.
Is there a
Are they
certain,
going to have to make it up?
is there a certain level of participation
No.
that we need to reach in order to, no?
It's just like a day of school. So, yeah, I guess, Nancy, go back to your question, that would be a way, a parent could excuse them from that day, just like a school day.
Is it?
And,
Go ahead.
no, I was going to say, do they have to make it up?
Make up,
You don't make up a sick day?
no, just like a sick day. They wouldn't
Yeah,
have to
but
make.
they might have to make it up on a sick day.
Well, they'd be responsible for the learning
For the
on
work,
that day.
Right.
But, yeah, the work, but they
Right.
wouldn't have to make up a day of school.
Okay.
So my question was, is it possible to know, like, when we send out packets for the starting school, is everybody eligible to participate in e-learning, or is it?
So one of the
Is it a post
questions
for it?
during registration we ask is if they have internet at home. And if they check no, then Gina's office gets
Okay.
to work on offering them a hotspot.
Okay, yeah. I
We
couldn't
also,
remember.
just so you know, we also reach out to specific groups of students where we have found that a higher population of students without internet, and we follow back up with those
Okay.
different programs to see, because teachers have close relationships with those students through resource and whatnot. So we do a couple of other things as well to try and make sure we reach everyone.
No, this,
So-
go ahead, Cheryl, I'm sorry.
I said sound good.
No. Yeah, this is right in District 99's wheelhouse, right? We've been recognized nationally for our ability to close the homework gap as one of the first school districts to ensure that every student had a device and connectivity if they needed it. I mean, this change in the law is almost written for our school district, right?
Yeah.
There's very few school districts as prepared as we are for this.
Awesome.
So this is liable to maybe garner some headlines because it's fairly unique?
No, e-learning days, no, you're going to have schools all over Illinois doing this.
Okay, so there's nothing exceptional about what we're doing here.
I would say that we
We're
are,
doing it too.
But our preparation.
right, we are more able, I think, to do it with fidelity than many school districts.
Very good.
Right.
All right.
Safety drill?
Safety drill update. So we had our safety drills last week?
Last week?
At both, or no, 2 weeks ago. Was it last
2
week?
weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Two
weeks ago.
Thursdays.
Yeah, 2 Thursdays ago. At both schools, we practiced our ALICE procedures, tested the Blue Point system. First responders were on site, gave us great feedback about how the day went. Jim helps lead the safety team that put all this together, so I asked him to give a couple of comments beyond that if there was anything he wanted to add.
Sure, it's part of the Regional Office of Education required drills. There's 3 fire drills that are required, one with participation from the fire department. We also have to do a bus evacuation drill and a severe weather drill, but they want us to do, and this is about a year old now, within 90 days of when school starts, law enforcement drill, school shooting incident. So this year, we added participation of staff and students in giving them options. We gave the students and staff an option to even evacuate the building without going outside of the exterior doors. We stopped them there. The drills went well. We are debriefing this week on Thursday on getting feedback that we've been getting from the staff. We're going to review that. Always tweaking, always looking to be better. So we're gathering that feedback. Just quickly, last year in spring, about 7 of us from the safety committee team went to a class to be instructors for Ellis. So we're certified now. So that's good to have in our school district. Also, this year, we kind of mandated all of our staff to do an online Ellis training prior to the 26th of September when we had the drill. And it was great feedback, very good video. So we're happy with that as well, and we'll keep doing that each year. So we keep bringing more in. We're giving choices. We're giving students and staff information so they have choices in case there is an incident.
All right, any questions on that?
So we've had a number of false alarms at North and South due to construction.
Fire alarms.
Fire alarms.
Yes.
Yes, not shooting alarms, fire
Right,
alarms.
fire alarms.
So we're not going to be penalized by the village for that, are we, or?
Actually, they count.
They count as our drills.
Oh, okay.
We're already 2 in at North and
Omar
1
and
in
Ken
at
are
South.
just doing this, that's 2. So we had 2 at North and 1 at South. So usually in spring, we have the fire department participate, so that'll be the final drill. So 1 more at North and 2 more at South.
That's
We might be done
fortuitous.
by next week.
And then do they charge us after that?
No, they do not.
Okay.
So I think I came in just as the meeting was starting, right? Nothing, had anything happened prior to my, so.
We
the
talked
pledge.
about
I
you,
missed the
but-
pledge.
Well, yeah, the pledge. And we talked about Mike. That was it.
The usual.
The usual.
We all sing the song. I
Well,
wanna be like Mike.
I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read through the 2 student reports that just came around. And relative to this, to the Alice drill, 2 things are Ariel from South. She happened to mention the East Leiden situation, and even my daughter was aware of that. So I thought that was interesting that the timing of it all made them feel more safe. It sounded like it was the timing was really fortunate, given some of the uneasiness they were feeling about another school and our conference. And then at North, Haley mentioned that while her class was able to evacuate without any issues, she had asked a couple of other students and some other students, and they said they didn't feel like the drill was realistic. Many classes were evacuating at the same exits, causing backup and a lot of urgency. So I don't know if...
We're addressing that.
Yeah.
So what happened at North, as the blue point was going off, Ken Sorensen got on the PA and overrode the looping message and identified where the shooter was in the building, and that was the main office, so fictitiously, and giving opportunity again for people to make choices. Pretty much the entire west end of the building just evacuated immediately. So that bottlenecked some stairwells. So we're looking at that. So when we have 400 or
good.
500 students coming out of the 3rd or 2nd floor, how do we get them down a stairway when they're all going towards that way? So, and I was on site, I was right by Forest, and as I can see them coming, I'm like, wow, this is going to get backed up, and it did. And it was right up the stairway. So those are things, that's why you have drills. We're looking at that. How do we make it better? What different stairwells can they use? Obviously, with the construction, we'll be adding more in the back, and that wasn't available that day.
Okay.
We're still working back there, so there'll be different avenues. Those are the kind of things we're looking through.
We were also holding people up at the door. They weren't
We were.
evacuating into the neighborhood, obviously, because
We were.
that'd be hard to get everybody
Past
back to
us.
class. So there naturally would have been kind of a log jam towards
I
there
see.
on those days.
See?
Yeah.
So, but great point is why we do the drills. I just, both of them though made that a big part of their report to us. So it's obviously forefront in their mind, and so good for everyone to know that this is why we do these drills.
We've seen some barricading at the doors. We, part of this was a double second period and we kind of flip-flop. We did south first, then went to north, and that second half of that double period was a discussion in going over, thoughts and what everyone was going through and what we could have done, what could have used as barricades, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I think those discussions were really important, and a lot of good information came out of that.
Very good.
Excellent. Okay, insurance plan?
All right. Yearly, we bring you updates on the insurance plans. Just so you know, the work of this is put together by a insurance committee that has representation from all employee groups across the district. Work really collaboratively to both offer a strong set of insurance plans at the same time while trying to maintain, competitive pricing for our employees. So Mark's going to provide an update on where we're at heading into next year.
Thanks. Yeah, we actually, if there's a Where's Waldo in your letter, it actually said that we met on Wednesday, October 10th, but it was a typo there. It was Tuesday, September 24th, our committee met and reviewed our claims, and we're transitioning from a September 1st through October 31st plan to now calendar year plan. So we ran from September 28th through the end of this December with the same premiums, and we did not increase the PPO plan. It was zero increase for that period of time because our claim history was looking so good. Well, it got a little bit heavier, so we are having to increase it going forward into the next calendar year. But we did increase the HMOs at that time, and those seem to be running fine. In fact, so well that Blue Cross, which administers those plans for us and is fully insured for those plans by them, indicated there's no increase on the HMO. So we're kind of flipping the increase to the PPOs for this next calendar year. And the increase, you can see, is 7.2%. The recommendation from HUB was about a 5% increase, 5.2. But because of the reduction in the reserve, we thought we should start to rebuild it. We talked about the reserve. The reserve is actually adequate to cover any runoff. If we had to change the plan, got rid of it, it would cover our bills. But we'd like to keep a certain amount of what we call a reserve for increases, a pad, or if we can, like an absorption for some increases to keep from having to hit a real high increase in one particular year. So we added the 2%. That'll only increase the reserve by about $100,000. So it's not going to totally get us back to where we were, but it'll help. And we can probably just keep doing that for a couple years and build it back up to where we want it to be. 2 dental plans are running fine. The district's vision plan is running fine, actually, and below expected costs. So there's no need to increase those. We hope it'll be a good renewal for our employees and also for the district, because really the district bears about 75% of the cost of any plan. So if we were to increase a PPO plan another percent, we would be taking 75% of that out of the ed fund anyways. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to keep pushing that button. So we're keeping it reasonable for everybody. So this is just an advisory situation where we're giving the information. It's our recommendation to do this. We had a good history with the insurance committee. They're a thoughtful group. They support the district that way and support us. It's a good connection. So we'd like you to take action at the next meeting, the action meeting, October 21st, to approve a 7.2% increase in the Blue Cross PPOs and no increase in the other plans. And this is only PPO A and B, even though we talked about a little bit about doing the PPO C plan, which is a bronze plan. There's only 12 people in that plan, and we're trying to attract people into it. So I'm not recommending that we increase that plan by any amount at all. It's such a small amount. It would have about $1,000 worth of impact on our reserve for 12 employees. So we're just going to keep that. It's running below cost already. So that'll be for the October 21st meeting. If you have any questions.
The bronze plan, is it a higher deductible plan?
Much higher, 6,000 single, roughly 12,000 family.
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah. And in the future, the business office, we've been talking a little bit about really tailoring that more, maybe even making a customized plan there that would make more sense to some individuals that would want a high deductible plan, maybe with some board contribution coming into it, to pull some people from other plans out of it, maybe, the similar amount that we put into those other plans on the board side. So we're going to start to do some look internally at that plan for maybe next year, have a restructure for that.
Very good.
So I have two questions. One is, the COBRA seems, maybe because we're going through, open enrollment myself, the COBRA, first of all, it seems very reasonable.
Yeah, the
Whole thing
COBRA is
seems very
2% higher than the regular plan. That's the maximum.
Well, I'm surprised it's that cheap.
Yeah. Well, it is, but they can only do that for a certain period of time, but they're entitled by law to have that in. And actually, that's the maximum we can charge over our basic plan.
The other question I have, and not for this year, but maybe for next, I know just the last two places I've worked for insurance, an option they have for single parents is single plus children. So because it's not two necessarily adults.
Yeah, actually, the vision plan has that option, and we've never really done a single plus child or single plus family. It's just usually 1 plus 1. But we could
I'm just
look at
throwing
it.
that out for maybe for
It's
next
not a bad
year.
idea to
Investigating.
We can have them
It's
price
a little
it.
bit easier for a single parent to manage.
Yeah.
Yeah. See how many people would take advantage of that, too.
When we went to we used to just have single coverage and family coverage, and then we went to the 3-tier where we did single plus spouse. The impact that it has, though, is it pulls money out of the family plan and makes that pretty expensive. So we've looked at that and the shift, and the committee overall said, no, let's keep it single plus. But that's not a bad idea. Single plus child would probably be a less expensive plan than single plus spouse.
Since you don't have two full adults,
Yeah.
usually, it's
So that
cheaper
would
to
be a
run.
different dynamic. We'd have to look at that. That's a good idea.
Right, so to make your point, essentially what's happening is that group is subsidizing the people who want to be on the family plan. If you're a single adult with a couple of kids, you're paying a little bit more than you would otherwise, but and that's helping people who have 4 kids like me, keep their costs down a little bit more. And I don't know, that's
The thing that we
seems
look
like
at.
it ought to be.
We can definitely investigate.
It's something to
more,
think about.
something more
When
fair.
we do that is that we feel that people in the length of their employment work through different layers of this. And so for a while, you're in the family and you could use it when you're young and you've got a
Well,
big
good point.
family. And when you get maybe a little older and it's just you and your spouse and your kids are gone,
And now
you
you're-
can take a little bit more. And so it's over the life of your career, it's fair. But you're right, year to year, it's shifting a little bit in there. In fact, there were times when we increased the HMO to where it was more expensive than what we were having to pay Blue Cross to help subsidize the other plan, just because it was taking a lot of people out of the plan. So we had to do it over a transitional period of time.
Anything else?
Okay, so we'll see that on the 21st and hope you
Okay.
support it. Thank you.
Master facility plan?
Jim, where are we at with bids?
Last Friday, we had the squad rooms for North and South opening, and we have one coming up to finish Phase B this Wednesday, so those two will be bringing to you probably either business meeting or the next month. So we'll see. We're still scoping a lot, and it's going to take some time to review what we have. So we'll see if we can get it here to the October business meeting.
So it was interesting in their student reports, they both hit on this as well, right? And at North, talking about instead of seeing blank wood in the cafeteria and lunchroom, they're looking forward to seeing student painted murals. And at South, the result of those student painted murals has been the most common response to the new hallway was that people were seeing clubs that they have never heard of before. So it's in a way, this is a good thing.
It's very exciting.
So yeah.
Well, I just want to say I went on both tours, and just fabulous, fabulous. Both schools did a great job explaining to the other folks in the tours of what was going on and what was happening. And I just want to say it's looking great.
Excellent. Great, thank you.
Yeah, we had about 75 community members at each of the two tours, and it was good timing to do it right after the homecoming parades. People came right in and went on the tours, so a lot of alumni back at both schools to go through and see it, so.
I must say, though, the class of 79 is a little rowdy
Yeah, they were a little rowdy.
at North.
Oh, that class of 44 was a little crazy, too.
Well, you know what, you got to take that into consideration. You know.
That was a very exciting, we had seven
Class of
alumnus from the class of 44 attend the homecoming events last week at North High. So that was their 75th reunion, 3 World War II vets.
It's in the
And people
newspaper.
that have lived in this community their whole lives. And they addressed the crowd at the homecoming pep rally and got a standing ovation, and it was very cool to see.
See them play in the band? No, just
But no, and you know what, that was the highlight of their year, is to come and do that, and it was really great. They got to ride the trolley and be in the parade, and
Cool.
it was really wonderful, wonderful. And I'd like to know the percentage, because I don't know how
They're
many.
going to pull it for us.
How many
What the
kids-
graduating class was.
Yes, because I think that's a huge percentage, really, when you think about, to be 90, 95.
77, 93, 94-year-olds, that's a good turnout, so.
Yeah,
It is. So cool.
it was amazing.
Yep.
Okay, anything else?
Nope. Master facility plan progress. One of the things we've been reviewing and reporting out kind of on an ad hoc basis over the summer as we did the construction is budget cost on the master facility plan. Now that we're kind of into this, we're getting to a point where we have a pretty well-defined format that we'll start producing. We plan on doing it at the workshop meetings moving forward for the next couple of years, so you can easily track the budget. So what we thought we would do tonight is walk through what this cost report is and the pieces that are in it and where they come from, so that when you get the report, you can better understand what it looks like when you get all of this stuff on one sheet of paper. So this is teaching time on the master facility plan cost report. So there's some different sections on it. Tony, if you go to the first slide here. So the first section that you'll see on this is just the overall summary report, which gives you where we started, where we're at now, and where we're trending, where we believe we're going to be when this is all done a couple of years from now. One of the things you'll see here at the beginning is just the construction costs at North and South, where they started, where we are in our current budget, where they're projecting. Our contingency, which is a key number of are we truly on budget, right? Because anytime that we run over budget, you're going to take from that contingency. I'm going to explain how these numbers fluctuate in a little bit, okay? Why they are doing what they're doing in a moment. So contingency, you can see we started at 7.7 million. Right now we're at 10.2, and we expect to be at 6.6 at the end. Then the rest of the chunk is, the other chunks are really our costs that go into this, right? Remember you had the GMAX number, which was about 122 million. You had the total number, which was 136.6 million. Those ones at the top, hard costs and contingency, plus the ones underneath it add up to the 136.6 million. Make sense, kind of how that's all put together? So just questions and kind of generally what you're looking at here. The breakdown really tells you the why in a second. Doing okay?
What's FF&E allowance?
Furniture,
Okay.
fixtures, and equipment.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So go to the next one here, Tony. So as you look at each school now, you can kind of dig into the details of where things are sitting, and this will give you an idea. So we'll start with South, and you can see the original budget of hard costs, the construction costs, about $56.6 million, okay? In there, in Phase A, they originally thought $10.9 million worth of stuff would be allocated to Phase A. Underneath that, 10.7 to Phase B, 31 to Phase C. There's an auditorium in there, that's why that's, and the Commons, right? Biggest projects, that's why that's so big. Now you see it fluctuate in the current budget. Phase A costs went down because some of Phase A got shifted into B and C. Some of the bids came in better. You know, we did well on Phase A. So there's a combination of it coming in under budget and other phases picking up pieces of this entire project. So that's where you get some of the fluctuations. So you could have had an example where a project at South came in less than we expected, but then it also picked up something that was sitting in Phase C, so it ended up more than we expected, but then Phase C would have dropped, right? So you have this kind of moving, remember, it starts as a forecast, then it becomes a living thing, right? So then you can see in here site improvements, the turf field, and the bleachers and the squad rooms and all those things. And then you see direct purchases, which is a new line that's starting to show up. A direct purchase is something that we recognize that we need, and and it's usually of a lower cost where we can just go out and find some competitors, get the lowest price, and we just go out and buy it. Or it's so small, it's like you're doing home improvement, you need to run to the hardware store and pick this up. Well, the builder sometimes will just go pick up that thing, pay for it, and then bill it back to us. Or if a contractor is saying, well, I'm going to charge you this amount for this thing, and the builder, White, says, that's ridiculous. You know, we can go pick that up for cheaper than what you're saying it's going to cost. They'll just go pick it up and then bill it back to the project.
So, I mean, it's such a small number compared to all those.
Right.
Numbers, but generally, we don't have a budget for things like that. Generally,
Many times it's stuff that comes up in the process of building, right?
Yeah.
Something you didn't expect to find when you opened up a wall, or as the project came together, right? So that's where you'll see those start to track there. It's just so that our bottom line is accurate as to where things are. And at the beginning, that budget line didn't even show up because you kind of know it's going to happen, but you don't know how much it's actually going to happen, right? So that's a number that will just increase over time, right? It started at 0 because, you know, you kind of hope you're not going to have any of these, but you know you're gonna, right? That's the key numbers we're looking at in the overall construction costs. Okay, so that's where you'll be able to track tell the story of what's happening in here. So if we look at Phase A, you see it started at 10.9 million. At the end of the summer, we're at 9.3, and we expect that number to go down. Okay? Remember, and we're going to talk about these in a little bit, we still have contingencies out there that we're holding until the entire punch list is done, everything's done. Once everything checks out, that contingency money comes back to us, which will then go into the contingency and drop the overall cost for that phase. That make sense?
No.
Okay, so every time we bid, the bids that Jim's talking about, every time they bid that out, there's the amount that we think that is going to cost. Okay, so to build Ed's office, we think it's going to cost $10. Okay, but we build into that an extra $1 because we expect that they're going to find something in there. There's a good chance they're going to find something in there that they're going to need. So in the end, it's $11 to do Ed's office. Okay, at the end, it really costs $10. We didn't use that extra $1. That comes back to us at the end.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a large contingency on the whole project, but even the little pieces inside of it as we bid them out have a contingency, they call it an allowance, inside of that bid. So it's a range where we think we have this number exactly, but we know that there are either some extra things we're going to try to accomplish, or we know this might be a tough area of the building, so we're forecasting and building in an allowance to run over or to pick up another part of the project when we're in there. Okay? So at the end of it, if you don't use those allowances, they flow back into the overall larger project. So you're right almost at the end of Phase A where we're closing out everything, all the punch lists are done. We know we're not going to need those allowances anymore, so we believe that they're coming back. Okay? So that's why you see that overall number dropping. Okay? So you can see that for each of the phases, and then you can see in some other areas it's kind of grown. So some of that is just design, So as we've gotten into the auditorium and we've looked at those needs and the soils and everything else that goes around it, some of those things have grown in cost. So you can see that that looks like, okay, we're projecting, steel is higher cost than we thought it was going to be when we headed into this. So now we're kind of forecasting that Phase C will be slightly higher budget than when we started, right? So like I said, it's constantly changing as we learn more, as we get more bids back, as we do further along in the design, you get closer to an actual number, okay? Contingency is what's left over, okay? So you can see we had that contingency for the whole plan, but we also had it broken down by school at the beginning. So you can see right now, contingency is way up in South because we're trending really well at South after the first summer of work. And then the rest of those are the pieces that we talked about our own costs, until you get down to FF&E, where we had planned on spending that $2.5 million. We will spend that. I guarantee you we'll spend every bit of FF&E, probably plus some contingency at the end. Remember, we didn't buy a lot of furniture this summer because we wanted to continue piloting and getting feedback on the prototype furniture. So that number will go up very quickly over the next couple of years. But this year we held back while we learned more about the different furniture that was out there. So how are we doing?
Quick question. Site improvements from current budget to completion, it's like 1.3 million. It's a pretty big percentage increase from current budget. Was there a big change of scope in that part of the project?
I think they opened up.
Squad rooms was a change, for sure. Bleachers were a little higher than we expected. Those would be the two big ones.
Okay.
Yeah, there were actually a couple numbers that were kind of trending like that 32 million too.
Yeah, the 32 million contains our two largest projects at South with the auditorium and the commons. So there's going to be a lot of play in those numbers. So.
Well, and you never know what you're going to get when you open up those walls, too. I mean,
Well, we're getting better. They're digging into those walls. They're tunneling down into the earth.
Those unknowns are going away.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But as those unknowns become more known, sometimes those numbers go up, right?
Well, that's what.
Because now you know how you're going to respond to
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah,
So.
because I think you found more asbestos than you thought.
Asbestos continues to be the gift that keeps on giving in this
Anytime you
district.
turn a rock over, there's another one.
Yeah, I think they used
we're
it.
getting close for Phase B and C, especially B, but we're way ahead. I mean, we've looked everywhere. We went into the press box to see if we had anything, and we came up negative. So we dug deep to get, we want it up front. We want to know what we have.
Yeah.
So we're in pretty good shape, but yes, we trended over than what we originally thought.
I
Are
continue to.
we recycling some of that stuff?
The asbestos?
No.
No, they're not using
You're
that.
still with me, Terry.
No, I mean, aren't the bleachers in that aluminum?
That's part of the bid, so.
Okay, so we're recycling.
Yeah, we're not pulling it. So a lot of bidders will go low knowing that they're going to get a couple bucks back on that, the bleachers. And
So the scrap guys aren't going to be
Scrap
coming
guys.
driving by.
No.
They're subcontractors.
Looking for stuff on the
Subcontractors
curb.
build
They're putting their bid in there. When the demo people, put a bid in, they're expecting to get that back.
Okay, good.
That's why they're low.
And I'm continually surprised, and maybe I shouldn't be, of the number of substances that contain asbestos.
It's amazing.
Well, they put it
It's
in everything, just like
unbelievable.
fiberglass.
Yeah.
It was a miracle fiber.
Multi-tools.
Oh, yeah,
It bound
absolutely.
things together.
we
And
check for
really,
radar?
from that 50 to 62, 1950 to see,
Yeah.
that was just huge.
Yeah.
So those, when South was being built and North had their addition, that's when it was immense. It was, very popular.
It was a great project.
Do we check for radon and other?
Yes. And we do that all the time.
Okay.
Not just for
Yeah,
this
we have to
project.
do that too.
So we have analysis for our air quality and radon every 6 months.
Wow.
All right, so let's take a look at how North compares to South. So it's the same format. So it's laid out the same. You can see this summer we trended a little bit higher. Once again, some of that was steel that came into the location. Some of it was asbestos removal. What else trended over this summer, Jim?
Well, North was just all the unexpected, so
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
a wall, a ceiling, you name it. North, and hopefully we'll see a flip-flop coming here, but North was really over on Phase A and B. That's where, and South was really under, so that's where you see that, savings, and then North was over, which we kind of knew.
Okay, so,
Why we have a contingency,
Right.
folks.
Yep.
and we knew that there'd be a lot of unknowns at North, right, just with the age of the building. All right, so that's kind of where we're sitting in North and South, if you go to the next one. All right, so this is where this comes into some of the things we were talking about. So right now, the entire hard costs of the construction is $91.46 million. So far, we've spent 32 million of that, so, or committed at least to 32 million. So as we've said, we're about 25 to 30% of the project. We're at about 25 to 30% of the budget as well. So you can see the contract at the top is that GMAX contract. Remember, we're guaranteed by White not to go over that dollar amount for the construction. Inside of that is that contingency. So we would spend down all of the money and the contingency and be at zero, and then we'd lock in at that number and not go past it, okay, for our construction costs. Where you see remaining FF&E allowance, that's our remaining furniture, fixtures, and equipment, okay? And as I mentioned that already, but we're closely monitoring that. That's one that we know, especially as we get into the commons and into a lot of these classrooms. When we get into fine arts, there's a ton of specialty, or visual arts, a ton of specialty equipment, science labs. So that will disappear quickly, which is why we've really kept a close eye on it over this summer. And then you see those allowances. Those are those built-in contingencies into the bids that as those projects end and there's money remaining there, they come back to us. So some of these we expect to come back to us. So a chunk of that Phase A, about half of that, we expect to come back to us, right?
Right now, we have 320,000 with fire and sprinkler, and that's probably going to be consumed. So if you took 320 from, so about 200 maybe back, which is fantastic. And that, Hank, is not part of the 6.6, so that would go back in that.
Right, that'll go back into contingency. So,
So maybe 200.
So, but I just want to give you some ideas as to why you see that contingency fluctuating so greatly between as we bid out and we expect what things are, and then projects complete, it flows back in. It's this ebb and flow of that contingency, right? The key part to know about contingency is that other than things that are happening in the middle of construction where we have to make a decision and it's truly like, oh my goodness, fix this now. If it's project scope, remember that always comes to the core team first. So Mike and Dan will get a look at that with the overall core team committee. And if it's like, we really think we should add this on, it'll go to them first and then come to the board for an okay. An example of that was the front steps at North High this summer, where the concrete costs were so low to do that project. We knew we would have to do those improvements eventually, that it made sense as part of increasing accessibility and security and all safety, that it just made sense to do that as part of this project. We would have never replaced all of that concrete and made all of those fixes in the future at that price, right? So to get into that contingency for increasing scope is got a pretty rigorous process, right? That doesn't just happen from like Jim deciding to do it. All right, how are we doing? All right, go ahead, the next one, Tony. All right, so here's the overall then summary of all of that. Okay, back to this one again. So now that you've seen it all, this is a review of what you see there to see how it all pieces together. So the original budget, current budget, estimated at completion, all of the pieces inside of it, that contingency number. And then the key total is that bottom right-hand corner, which is the GMAX number.
You make it all look so easy.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time trying to understand all of this. And Mark hasn't even jumped in once yet, so I must be doing
I'm just
okay.
hanging by.
He's just waiting.
Absorbing.
You got it.
Well, so far, I mean, this is just all continues to track in the way we expected. We thought we were getting a top-notch organization taking care of us, and that seems to be what we're getting. It's almost amazing if you think about the complexity of the work, to be able to go through and predict what things are going to cost, have things actually work out that way is, I mean, how many projects do you know work that way? And we've all heard.
My home improvement projects don't work that way.
I was gonna say, so far, so good. Yeah, stop. Yeah, it's not over yet.
Maybe so, but they're doing a terrific job for us.
Agreed.
And so I couldn't be more pleased.
Well, I think they're doing a terrific job for us, but I think you guys are doing a terrific job for us too. And we know who's stewarding this all through, so thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm knee-high, man. I'm in the
I see those
weeds.
alligators over there, Mr. Wood.
Every day I'm in the weeds with these folks.
Yes.
Keep an eye on everything.
Yes, there's lots that you're not sharing with us.
No.
Yes.
And results speak for themselves, though.
That's what we're interested in here.
Yeah, like I said, going on the tours,
Oh, yeah. I attended my first meeting
job.
for college and career counseling, their advisory board, and I'm there as the one parent/board member so that they can continue to get the certification. It's really great seeing everybody moved in and working in the space, and it's just fantastic. I look forward to the comments being done so that it's
that'll be impressive.
really operating the way it's intended. So
and really the murals that at South High, it's really fun to
on
go
that
through
conference room window.
and see them.
Oh, you're talking about what the kids did? Yeah.
Kids,
Oh, yeah.
what the kids have
Yeah.
done.
Neat stuff.
Really,
Yep.
very nice, very nice.
Fun.
Might be a little chilly though in the winter.
Oh, it's going to be really
Can
cold.
bundle up and
Kids
go,
will get
or
to
you go
class
up
quickly.
and over and back down.
Walk
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about
Build
them
snowmen.
saundering through.
They're young.
Not going to melt.
All right.
Actually, one more thing related, not to this, but it's to the bond issuances. We are looking at possibly issuing the remaining bonds in the next 2 or 3 or 4 months, moving it up just because interest rates are so low right now. And we're doing the math to see exactly how much that would cost our taxpayers as opposed to how much it would enhance the project in terms of having available funds and being able to invest that and earn interest on it. And either way, we're absolutely guaranteed we're going to keep our promise of the $65 cost for a taxpayer on a $300,000 property. We're already in the $60 range, $62. I mean, we're going to be fine with that.
Excellent.
So we're looking at that, and there's also another piece that there was some additional life safety work that was needed and is needed. We noticed the auditorium, I think we talked about it at North and the wiring there. And so we're waiting for approval from the state for that project. And at that point, we're going to go move ahead and get authorization to issue a few $100,000 more. It'll only be maybe $350,000 of bonds, somewhere in that range, for life safety work. So that we can do it at the same time we issue the master facility plan bonds to really reduce the costs of issuing the life safety bonds. You don't want to issue $350,000 worth of bonds and pay all the legal fees and involved. So we want to pool that with that. But we want to be ready. If the market looks right, we're going to just hit the market and come to the board and issue it. So that's going to be going on probably in the next 3 or 4 months.
That's really, really good.
There's a chance that work could be, well, it wasn't part of, never mind.
Yeah, it's not part of the scope of this, and actually,
My mouth was going faster than that.
and actually we have what's called a debt service extension base in our levy, which it covers those things, and it's dipping down by a few $100,000 over the next 2 years. So we would probably just do a very short 2-year bond to take care of it. It'd be very inexpensive.
Well, so fingers crossed if we can hit the interest rate right, and if maybe the tariffs would go away or get reduced at some point so we could buy this
the steel
for less.
That would help. The steel
would help. So fingers crossed. I'm not real hopeful, but at least on the interest. Well, this is, people don't realize it affects, I mean, it's affecting us.
We all realize it, Mike.
Yeah, well, I know we do. So,
Yeah.
anyhow, thank you.
Hey,
Thanks, Barb.
trust
Anything
me.
else?
I have one other thing.
So I-
In front of you is the IASB resolutions for, which Mike will come back and talk to you about. But I do want to point out the work of Nancy on page 12
Look at the board.
and the board.
And you.
Nancy on page 12.
I was on a couple of conference calls.
You were on, yeah, just a few.
If you look at there, you will see the District 99 resolution in black and white in front of you.
Hey, this is exciting. Now, we had to water it down a little bit, though, I'm just going to say,
Well, you had to get the
Yeah.
work of a committee.
which is how you design a horse becomes a camel. So, Mike, you're on, buddy.
I'll bring it home. Count on me.
Bring the camel home.
Absolutely.
Bring the camel across the finish line.
Hey, might I mention something real quick? Since with Gina here too, I mentioned that meeting I was at this morning. So two things that the students mentioned in that meeting. One was that it would be great to have some sort of a SAT prep class sort of idea. I guess we used to do something like that with ACT years ago, and so
SAT class,
and then the other thing was a lot of interest in being able to take electives in the summer, and we've had a lot of, I was hearing them talk about it, and we've talked about that here in our board meetings before. So there's definitely a student interest in doing more in the summertime, and I know there's limits to what we can do, but just I
We've
wanted to
said
throw
we'll
that out there.
reevaluate that once we make it through these next two crazy summers of construction.
Sure.
Because
No,
it's just,
there's all kinds of little, I mean, they were talking about some schedule things too, and I was just thinking, well, wait till you have your full lunch period and
Right.
the way it's going to reorganize so many things. But just, I wanted to say something about before it went out of my parking lot. Sure.
So they're looking, it's a class as opposed SAT prep?
Oh, so we used to have a PSA prep class.
We don't.
It met opposite lunch, and students were scheduled into it. They didn't earn credit in the course necessarily, but it was test prep. It was for specific students, so we identified it wasn't open to all students, but that's the class they're referring to, I believe. And we do
So it went away?
embed some prep into our other class, our regular classes, math, science, English.
But that has gone away, is what I'm trying to.
The PSA prep class went away when the PSAE went away.
Okay, so there is no, I always thought, okay, there is no class to kind of, that a kid can sit in to prep them for SAT,
Not
other than you.
a specific class during the school day.
during the school day.
Right.
There's outside
There's test
programs.
prep, like.
See, that was how it came up.
Yeah, I paid pretty good for
And there's
that
also,
class. So,
when they
yeah.
take their SAT, their suite within the SAT, the PSAT,
8, 9.
8, 9, the PSAT.
10.
And leading into that, they also get distinct feedback back with links. If they sign in with their account into Khan Academy, it builds a test prep program for
Okay.
them.
And most of
So
our students-
That's part of the reason why Illinois chose to go with that,
Right.
is because there's free online resources tailored to each individual student that parents don't, if they don't have the resource, they don't have to pay for a test prep program, it's free.
This is
It's
where it
included.
came up. There were 4 juniors and a sophomore there this morning, and it came up in the context of, and there was talk amongst them about this, that they, as individuals, they couldn't afford to take the class that other, the students have
Exactly.
parents. So there was a feeling of, we're a little at a disadvantage here. And I brought up, as did others, that there are resources.
We do send that
available.
out to all of our students and offer training on that.
Right,
so.
right.
Yeah,
But I wanted to carry that forward tonight, because it came up resoundingly.
Yeah, even if it's heavily communicated to them what the help is, because to your point, I paid pretty good for those outside, help features, so.
So thank you for indulging me.
Okay, we're going to skip the reception of visitors. Let the
Since we have none.
Because there are
record show
none.
there are none. And now we need a motion to go into closed session for A, the collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and litigation when an action against, affecting or on behalf of the district has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the district finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting, and the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity.
So moved.
Dan and Sherelle.
That was rough saying all that.
Yeah. He was a second ahead. Sorry, Sherelle.
It's like
And you're on my good side, so.
they come up for air.
Dan Nicholas.
Aye.
Cheryl Fuller.
Aye.
Terry Pavasich.
Aye.
Rick Pavanato.
Aye.
Joanna Vasquez Drexler.
Aye.
Mike Davenport.
Aye.
And Nancy Kupka.
Hi, we are in closed session, and if anybody wants to come by before we come back, I don't know that we'll be taking any action tonight
No action.
No action.
No action out of closed. All we'll do is come out of closed to adjourn.
to adjourn. We're in closed.